Hello again, young Americans for Liberty, and thank you very much for advancing me to the second round, where today I want to talk about something I'm very familiar with, which is militarism. Although I can point specifically to the many good things I did and that service members continue to do to this day, there are and were many things I'm not proud of. It's important to distinguish the difference between defense and militarism. I'm certainly in favor of individuals possessing the means to defend themselves and, by extension, groups of people designated as defenders of our nation. Unfortunately, it's very obvious big government and its love of warfare and welfare choose to take a noble group of volunteers and lie to them and use them in ways the United States military was never intended to be used. Instead of a lean, transparent, responsive defense force funded morally by the marketplace, I'm sad to say we have a large, bloated, top-heavy, clunky, wasteful military funded by theft that appears to be stretched very thin across the planet, more often than not forcing service members to be a part of immoral activities. On a larger scale, we can see the second and third-hand effects of the poor foreign policy that our government has adopted, causing or exacerbating issues that it claims to need more money and more volunteers in order to defeat in a strange loop of logic. For example, arming the Taliban in the 1970s was an attempt to halt the spread of communism. This resulted in many deaths, a large bill to the taxpayers, and arming and training an equally immorally group who we were then attacked by in 2001 on 9/11. Examples similar to this can be seen all across the history of our country, where we meddle and attack contrary to the Constitution and only make the situation worse. While I see the bravery and courage in volunteering to fight against people who would try to harm you or your family, I cannot support a system that steals from people to support murder and terrorism. We're getting to be eerily similar to the ancient Roman Empire in many ways, and I fear many similar negative consequences could result. The United States has a very powerful war machine, and from personal experience from my time in the Army, I can attest that the hell of war should never be initiated, should be a sad last resort, and only a matter of defense. Trading with other nations is the best way to foster peace. However, of course, in a true libertarian society, it's likely that there would still be a standing army. However, defense would be a much more layered concept. From individuals choosing to defend themselves how they see fit, to neighborhood watches, to community or regional volunteer militias, all the way to national level standing armies. As we see in anything that is done through peaceful free market ways, this would grant a large amount of transparency and efficiency through the accountability to the people or groups of people these organizations would sell the service of defense to. Bringing our troops home and putting a check on wasteful spending would save billions and allow us to steal less through taxation. Using the military only for defense would save lives and prevent meddling in other countries' affairs and creating enemies. It gives me hope to see the trend of violence, either personal or government initiated, dropping over the last 2,000 years in a kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of way. Making the change that I've talked about would be a good step in the right direction and obviously the ethically superior stance. In closing, there is another similarity I'd like to draw. Being a small political minority but with the moral high ground, I see a comparison between the Spartans of ancient Greece and the libertarians in this country. There's a story that says at one of the Olympic Games, an old man was wandering the stands looking for a seat, but instead was just met with insults and jeers. All the Spartans stood to offer their seats. He was quoted as saying, "It seems all of Greece knew what the right thing to do was, but only the Spartans would do it." Let's do the right thing. Thank you.